Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we are going to discuss the Hindu newspaper of New Delhi edition dated 4 January 2018. Let's begin. On page number 1, we see this news Maratha shuts down as Dalit join forces. This news also appeared as a continuation on page number 11 and also an article appears on page number 8. So let's see all these news together. So this news is basically about clash of castes between that of Mahar and Marathas. Now this clash has led to a law and order problem. As we see in the news, law and order situation was affected almost in the entire state of Maharashtra. This news also has a historical angle where we see that why this community had a clash and what was the basic reason behind it. And lastly, we will also understand the basic meaning of right and unlawful assembly, as these two words continuously appear in the news because of the situation of law and order problem, which is also a part of governance. So let's see all these three topics with respect to social angle, historical perspective, and perspective with respect to governance and meaning of right and unlawful assembly. Let's see. So first of all, we must understand why this violence erupted. So on January 1st, 2018, a Dalit community known as Mahar were celebrating this British victory in the Anglo-Maratha battle. Now why this Dalit community was celebrating? Because this group of Mahars were also a part of the British army, and January 2018 was the 200th year of the battle which was fought at Bhima, Koregaon village, which is near Pune in Maharashtra. So to commemorate this victory, the Dalit community collected at this place. So the Dalit community were effectively celebrating their victory over the Marathas, which irked some of them in the community, which led to violence not only in the area of Bhima Koregaon but in the entire state of Maharashtra. Mahars have traditionally been lower caste community and were often discriminated by the society. So Mahars have traditionally demanded basically two things: equal status in society and reservations. Now this clash becomes important to understand because it is an outburst of the Dalit community over rising atrocities by the society over last few years. This topic becomes important from the perspective of social justice as well as rights issue. Let us understand the historical perspective of this particular news. As mentioned earlier, on 1st January in the year 1818 AD, roughly 500 Mahar soldiers who were a part of British army defeated the massive Peshwa army led by Bajirao II near Koregaon. This piece of information becomes important from prelims point of view. Thus a basic question can be asked whether this Mahar community fought on behalf of the British army or on behalf of the Peshwas, or in this battle at Koregaon, who led the Peshwas? It was led by Bajirao II. Now this battle is celebrated among Dalit community because what they consider is that in this battle they defeated the upper caste army. This battle is seen by Dalit community as a matter of pride and honor. This battle is also seen by the Dalit community as defeat of injustice given to them by the society. The British East India Company erected a pillar near Koregaon known as Vijay Stambh or the Victory Pillar, and this pillar was erected in the memory of all those Mahars who were a part of the battle against the Peshwas. Thus Mahars draw inspiration and pride from this Vijay Stambh at Koregaon. So this news becomes important from UPSC point of view, not only from historical angle but also from the angle of social justice. Now there are two words which constantly appear in the news with respect to unlawful assembly and rioting. Let us understand the basic points of unlawful assembly and rioting so that you can understand the entire issue very easily, that what are the steps taken by the government to restore law and order in the entire affected areas, as this also becomes important from governance point of view. Now this unlawful assembly has been defined in the Indian Penal Code, section 141. Now the section is not so important, but what is more important is to understand what this unlawful assembly basically means. An assembly of 5 or more person is termed as unlawful assembly if the common object of the people coming within that assembly is to show criminal force to a public servant in discharge of their duties. If the common object of the assembly is to resist the execution of any law or legal process, to commit any offense related to criminal trespass to other property, mischief, or any other criminal offense. So if the common object of the assembly is to take by criminal force any property illegally, then it also becomes a part of unlawful assembly. And by use of force, if this assembly compel any person to do a thing which would be illegal in the eyes of law, then such act done by this group of 5 or more people becomes unlawful assembly. 5 or more people, thus any of these things committed by a group of 5 or more people for a common object, it becomes a part of unlawful assembly. And an unlawful assembly is punished for a period of 6 months along with fine. It is very important to understand the concept of unlawful assembly, because only then you will able to understand the concept of rioting or riot. Now rioting has been defined under section 146 of Indian Penal Code. It simply says whenever force or violence is used by an unlawful assembly or by any member of the unlawful assembly in prosecution of the common object, then every member of such assembly becomes guilty of the offense of rioting. Thus, these two words becomes important to understand from governance point of view, because it is a duty of the state as well as the central government and their officers to maintain law and order and to take appropriate steps whenever required when law and order of any area is disturbed. Thus we see how this news becomes important not only from the angle of social justice but also from historical perspective and also from the angle of governance. Now let's move on to the next news. Now another news which appear on page number 1 is debate stalled in Rajya Sabha on Triple Talaq bill. This news also appeared as a continuation on page number 10. Now this news on Triple Talaq has been amply covered in the previous DNS. Here we need to understand the process through which any bill goes and what are the legislative scrutiny which any bill faces. So in this debate between the ruling party as well as the opposition, we understand that this bill on Triple Talaq is fiercely debated on certain provisions of the bill, and the opposition is demanding to send this bill to a select committee. Now in this respect, let us understand what is a select committee. Here we see there are two types of parliamentary committee. One is an ad hoc committee and what is a standing committee. So let us understand what are these two committees and in which category the select committee comes into picture. Now these ad hoc committees are appointed only for a specific purpose, and once they complete their task, whatever they are assigned for, they cease to exist. There are two types of principal ad hoc committees. One is a select committee and other is a joint committee. So a bill is referred to these committees, either select committee or joint committee, as is decided by the House, and these committees basically consider every clause of the bill. In their consideration, they can move various amendments to such clauses as they deem fit, and after the committee has gone through various clauses of the bills, then such committee submits their report. Thus these committee act as a legislative scrutiny over a particular bill as moved by the government. Here in this Triple Talaq, we see that the bill is being fiercely debated in the floor of the House, primarily in the Rajya Sabha. Thus, the opposition is demanding to send that bill to this select committee. Now, the standing committees are permanent committees like Business Advisory Committee, Committee on Petitions, Committee on Privileges, Rules Committee, etc. So it's constantly appearing in the news that a particular bill is sent to a joint committee or a select committee. Thus, you must know that these committees are a part of ad hoc committees. So, a very basic preliminary questions can be asked about on the nature of these committees, whether these are permanent committees or ad hoc committees. Ad hoc means temporary for a particular period. Now, there are other kind of committees which acts as Parliament's watchdog over the executive. Let's see what are these various committees. Subordinate Legislation Committee, Committee on Government Assurances, Committee on Public Accounts and Public Undertaking, and departmentally related standing committees. Thus, all these committees plays an important role in exercising check over excessive government expenditure as well as policy formulation. Thus, this topic becomes important from polity point of view, and certain basic prelims question can be asked from these topics on committees. Now let's move on to the next news. Now we move to page number 7. Here the news reads, Panchayat Secretary certificate is no proof. Here the Supreme Court has said that certificates issued by the Panchayat Secretary or the Executive Magistrate is no proof of citizenship. The Supreme Court further said that the certificate issued by these authorities are merely it's a supporting document for a limited purpose to be used to establish a linkage between holder of the certificate and the person from whom legacy is being claimed. Thus, as per the Supreme Court judgment, a Panchayat Secretary or an Executive Magistrate cannot issue any proof of citizenship. In this respect, the Supreme Court further stated that these certificates need to be verified at two stages. First, verification of the authenticity of the certificate itself, and second, authenticity of its content. Thus, this is an important topic with respect to the concept of citizenship. In this respect, let us understand some of the basic features about citizenship. The Constitution of India, in its Part 2 from Article 5 to 11, provides for the provision of citizenship, and in this respect, the Citizenship Act 1955 was enacted, and it provides for acquisition of Indian citizenship as well as determination of Indian citizenship. Thus, these are the two basic aims and objectives of this particular Citizenship Act. Now, there are various processes through which a person can acquire citizenship of India. Let us see what these processes are. The Citizenship Act 1955 says that a person can acquire citizenship by birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization, by incorporation of territory by the Government of India. It also provides for a special provision as to citizenship of persons covered by the Assam Accord. The Assam Accord was signed between the Government of India and leaders of the Assam movement. They were basically agitating over the issue of illegal migrants in the state of Assam. With the signing of Assam Accord, this agitation came to an end in the year 1985. So a basic prelims question can be formed on the grounds of acquisition of citizenship. So you must remember that citizenship can be acquired by birth, by descent, by registration, by naturalization, incorporation of territory, as well as there is a special provision under the Citizenship Act 1955 under section 6A, which provides for special provision as to citizenship of persons covered by Assam Accord. And this Assam Accord was signed between the Government of India as well as leaders of the Assam movement on the issue of illegal migrants in the year 1985. Thus, this news becomes important from UPSC point of view. Let's move on to the next news. Now we move on to page number 9. Here the news reads, a new plateau. This news is about India-China relationship and its fluctuation in the year 2017. What were the points which led to these fluctuations and how their relation as of now stands on a confrontational footing? So let us understand some of the various controversies which happened between India and China's relationship in the year 2017, so as to analyze and understand how these two countries will move ahead in the coming years. The article mentions that the year 2017 marked a turning point between the relationship of these two countries, that is India and China. Now let us understand why it has been said that 2017 proved to be a turning point with respect to India and China. Doklam standoff. We all know that the tri-junction of India, China and Bhutan, where India and China faced confrontations at this tri-junction of Doklam. Tensions continued to rise between the two countries after an understanding was reached between India and China over the issue. But we still don't know whether this issue of Doklam might erupt again or not. Next is India's opposition to the Belt and Road Initiative of China. India was the first country to oppose the move of China's Belt Road Initiative, and specifically it was aimed at the CPEC or China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The issue pertained to sovereignty, as India considers the area of Pakistan occupied Kashmir its own, and the CPEC specifically passes through this area of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Thus, on the issue of sovereignty, India opposed this entire Belt and Road Initiative, including that of CPEC. And in this opposition, India tried to gather support of other countries as well. Similarly, China opposed India's move to list Maulana Masood as global terrorist in the United Nations Security Council, and China continues to veto India's proposal on behalf of Pakistan. Next, China again continues to oppose India's move to Nuclear Supplier Group or NSG. Next, India became a part of an informal grouping known as Quad or the Quadrilateral. And as we know, Quadrilateral consists of USA, Australia, Japan and India. Thus, India has become a part of this informal group, and through this India is trying to expand its reach in the Indo-Pacific region. This move of India to be a part of informal grouping known as Quad is aimed at containing China or containing China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Similarly, China recently signed a free trade agreement with that of Maldives, which had a traditional relationship with India. Thus, all these issues point to the fact that India and China have towards a more confrontational footing in the last 1 year. Now, this topic becomes very important from exam point of view, as it specifically determines the points or the grounds where India and China became confrontational in the last 1.5 years. So if a mains question is asked with respect to India and China relationship, you can definitely use all these points in your answers. This topic becomes important from international relations perspective. Now let's move on to the next news. Now we move to page number 13. Here the news reads Telecom Policy 2018. TRAI seeks comments. Now the Telecom Regulatory and Authority of India has come up with a new telecom policy of 2018. This telecom policy replaces that of the telecom policy of year 2012. So let us understand what are the salient features of this new telecom policy 2018. It aims to provide for a regulatory and licensing framework. It aims to provide connectivity for all. It aims to enhance quality of service as provided by telecom service providers. It further aims to ease of doing business, and it aims to introduce new technologies in the telecom sector like Internet of Things as well as 5G. Now let us understand what are the basic objectives of this Telecom Policy 2018. It aims to increase rural density up to 100%. It wishes to enable wireline broadband to 50% of households. It aims to make India among the top 50 countries which provide best communication system to its citizens. Through the new Telecom Policy 2018, the government wished to attract $100 billion in the telecom sector. This will not only provide growth to this particular sector, but also will provide more jobs in this particular area. The government wished to achieve 100 million public Wi-Fi spots for better connectivity of public, and wish to achieve 900 million broadband connections. Thus, going through the overall basic objectives of the Telecom Policy 2018, we see that the government basically aims to not only penetrate telecom density in entire India, but also attract investment which will further better the use of technology which we currently use, and this will effectively provide growth and development to the entire region. Now this topic becomes important as telecom policy is part of science and tech, and through these policies we also understand how the government is moving forward with a clear direction and what are its targets in the coming years. This a basic question in the mains can be asked on the salient features or the basic objectives of telecom policy 2018, or what does the government wish to achieve through these telecom policies. Now let's move on to the next news. Now we move on to the next news on the same page, that is page number 13. Here we see Center approves rupees 5,369 crore for waterway project on National Waterway number 1. Now this National Waterway number 1 stretches from Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh to Haldia in the state of West Bengal. Now let us understand the allocation of this 5,369 crore. The World Bank will provide 2,512 crore, whereas 2,556 crore shall be obtained from budgetary allocations and from proceeds or sale of bonds. Public-private partnership mode will secure funding to the tune of rupees 301 crore. Here, the funding rupees is not important, but it's important to understand that this project is funded in collaboration with World Bank as well as the government of India, and also certain part by the private investors. Now what is the importance of this project? This project will provide an alternative mode of transport in the entire stretch of National Waterways 1, that is the state of UP, Bihar, Jharkhand as well as West Bengal. This project will effectively bring down logistic costs in the country. This will also give a boost to the infrastructure sector. This will further create thousands of jobs, both directly as well as indirectly. That is, directly in the national waterways and indirectly through the allied vessel construction industries, which will be utilized in the waterways. Thus, this topic becomes important from economic perspective, and also these national waterways becomes very important from prelims point of view, as we must know what are the different waterways and which waterways pertain to which river. Like here we see National Waterway 1 is pertaining to Ganga, the National Waterway 2 is to the Brahmaputra. Similarly, 3 is the West Coast Canal on this region. National Waterway 4 pertains to the Godavari and Krishna. National Waterway 5 pertains to Brahmani Delta canals. Here we can see. And National Waterway 6 pertains to the Barak River. So all these things becomes important from both prelims as well as a mains point of view. In the mains, a simple question can be asked that how providing alternate mode of transport in the waterways prove to be useful for the economy, or how development of national waterways leads to economic growth. This topic becomes very important both from economy point of view as well as in the geography and environment section. With this, we come to an end to today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.